Hello, everyone. Welcome back to In the Yard Podcast with your host, Colin Savala and Braeden Cox. And March Madness is right around the corner as we record here on Tuesday. I think the playing the game
They're
starts
playing
tonight
right
or
now.
tomorrow. Playing right
Yeah,
now.
no, it starts tonight. Yeah, they're in halftime of the first one. I haven't looked at the score in a minute, but I know Wagner was ahead of Howard. So
There we go. March Madness has officially started. But the actual tournament starts this Thursday.
yep.
So Braeden is actually going to give you his predictions and fill out his bracket here on In the Yard. So stay tuned. And if you want to win a lot of money, I'd roll with Braden's bracket here. If you want to win, if you guys threw in some money for your fantasy groups, or just doing it for fun, follow Braden's bracket. I'm sure it's gonna be pretty good. Pretty called a lot of upsets that happened last year, so hopefully it repeats that again.
I did
And
pick
then
Furman last year.
they picked Furman. I never heard the end of it after that, but I did pick Furman. And then if you haven't, and you want to join Braden and I's ESPN Tournament Challenge, I think it's a public link. Just reach out to Braden or I. We'll send you the link,
Yeah,
and you could join right away. I think if you don't want the link, I think you just search up like In the Yard 2024. It
something
should
like
come up
that. Yeah.
too. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it's public.
please
So
join. The more the merrier. I think we already have about 15 people in our group now, so it's pretty dope. Um,
yep.
so yeah, Bray, get right into it here. Show us your predictions for the 2024 NCAA March Madness bracket.
Yeah. All right. So screen's looking good here.
Let me see. Okay, so I'm minimizing. Yeah, I would scroll down a little bit. Yeah, right
How's that?
there. And then if you really have to, you can just scroll down again until you get, like
All
the
right.
round of 64 done.
Cool. So yeah, so welcome. Of course, this is the second annual In the Yard March Madness that we're a part of. Year two of my perfect picks. So we're gonna get right to it here. 1v16s. It's only happened twice where 16 has beaten a one. It has been recently. It was Virginia in like 2018. Um, and then the other one has escaped my mind. I think it was
It
last
was
year,
last year.
right? Yeah, it
Purdue
was
lost.
FDU. Yeah, it was FDU, Purdue last year, right?
Yeah.
Purdue once again a one seed, so we can kind of see what happens there. But UConn, the best team in the country by far, in my opinion, wins that one convincingly. Now we get into this 8v9 of Florida Atlantic and Northwestern. And I believe historically, if you take all the 8v9 matchups ever in the March Madness tournament, the nines win more often. So I'm going to pick Northwestern here. If I were to make a secondary bracket, I would pick FAU here. Um, but Northwestern, decent in the Big Ten tournament, had a good season. So I'm going to pick them there. San Diego State UAB, which I believe is University of Alabama Birmingham. San Diego State
Yeah.
was in the national championship last year. I can't pick against them here. I could totally see someone wanting to take that because of how good San Diego State was last year, but it may have been a little bit on the flukier side, saying, "Hey, they're exiting the tournament early this year," but I am going to pick them um, in the first round. Auburn, Yale. I think this is a lock for me. Princeton was the favorite to win the Ivy, lost, I believe, in the semis. And then the championship in the Ivy was Yale versus Brown. And Brown, like, I think was like ranked one of the worst teams in the country and just like kind of lucked themselves through the tournament. And they almost beat Yale. So this could easily be Auburn versus Brown. So because of that, I'm going to pick Auburn. Auburn also profiles really well. They're probably top 10 team in the country, I'd say. BYU Duquesne, very interesting matchup here because I believe the head coach of Duquesne said that after the tournament, he's retiring. And the head coach of Duquesne also coached LeBron when he was in high school, I believe. So this guy's long-standing college basketball, I guess high school basketball coach as well. Um, but I am going to pick BYU here. They've been good all year. Uh, they had a decent tournament run. I'll take BYU here. Illinois, Morehead State. Illinois won the Big Ten. This is a lock for me. Morehead State, a good team, not a great team. Washington State, Drake. All right. This is an interesting one because you would think the 7 is favored, but Vegas actually favors Drake here. And I like Vegas. I like what Vegas has to say here. I think Drake is probably just a tad better than Washington State. If you put Washington State here, Washington State's been a good team this year too. I think if you put Washington State here, I think you have a totally, totally good argument. Um, but Vegas likes Drake, and I can't really deny that at this point, right? I know that might seem a little chalky or a little like too easy, like, oh, you're just following with it, whatever Vegas says, but realistically, like that's an okay upset to have, even though they're favored. And then I am gonna have Iowa State beating South Dakota State. Iowa State won the same conference that Houston's in, and Houston's a 1 seed. So
Big
I
12,
think
yeah.
that that's a totally fair draw there. Um, in
Well,
the West,
Braden,
go
just
ahead.
this just in. I just got this ESPN notification. I don't know if this is
Wow.
going to affect your pick or not.
Okay.
But it says Kansas star Kevin McCullough Jr. to miss NCAA tournament with knee injury. Just wanted to give you that. It literally just came in just now, so I don't know if it's going to affect your picks, but just wanted to give you a quick heads up there.
Yeah. I'll get to that because I was going to
Okay.
mention
Yeah,
something
I just
about
wanted to mention
Kansas
it.
and their injuries. Um, so, and you can jump in anywhere and interrupt me if you have any thoughts there, but I am going to go to the West here. Uh, like I said, 1 seeds really don't lose. It's only happened twice. So I'm picking UNC to beat Howard or Wagner. Don't care who it is. Mississippi State, Michigan State. You see a lot of memes online about this because they're both MSU, right? Um, so Michigan State is favored in this game as a 9 seed. Um, the thing about Michigan State is like they're one of those teams that every year, no matter where they're seated, they always make noise in March. No, it doesn't matter how bad a regular season. They could have been the 16 seed. They could have been a play-in team. I think they were a play-in team last year. Um, so Mississippi State had a great run in their conference tournament. They beat Tennessee, I believe. So again, a great run there. But I am going to take Michigan State here because I trust them in March. St. Mary's, Grand Canyon. So this is going to be my first, I think, huge upset, right? And I really like St. Mary's. They won their conference. They're in the same conference as Gonzaga. But give me Grand Canyon here, right? As a little fun upset. I think this is going to be a popular upset. Um, I think it really is a coin flip, right? Because I think
There's
St.
no
Mary's is really good.
there's no bad pick when it comes to the NCAA tournament because literally, as we know, anything could happen.
Of
So
course, exactly, right? It is the madness of March. Grand Canyon as a 12 seed. I believe they only lost like 3 games all year. And again, they don't play in a great conference, right? But I I got a feeling, you know what I mean? You're gonna have to choose some of these 5v12s,
yeah,
obviously. And I
absolutely,
think this is a
absolutely.
great one to pick. I think a lot of people are also gonna pick this one. So I'm gonna pick Grand Canyon to beat St. Mary's as my first like huge upset, I guess you could say. Alabama, Charleston. Alabama's not been playing good ball recently. They are a 4 seed. I am gonna pick them over Charleston. But as far as like making true noise in March, I don't know if this is their year. Clemson, New Mexico. I'm gonna definitely pick New Mexico here. Not because I absolutely love New Mexico. I think they do profile really well analytically. It's more so like Clemson really has not had that great of a year. I get they're a 5 seed, but like the tail end of their season has been really poor. They did not perform well in their tournament at all. New Mexico won the Mount West, which is in my opinion, a really good conference this year. So I am going to take New Mexico at 11. Um, Baylor Colgate, Patriot League getting a little shout out here, as it seems like Colgate's in it every year. Um, they never go anywhere. They're not going anywhere this year. I'm taking Baylor for sure there. Dayton, Nevada. I know Nevada's hot and I know Dayton's cold. So I'm going to have to go with Nevada here. I'm just picking a hot hand. Don't really know anything about either of these teams. Like I said, you're going to have a few of these 7-10 upsets. You're probably going to have at least one 7v10 upset. And here, I mean, I picked
Whenever
Drake there. Go ahead.
I'll just say, whenever I think of Dayton, I just think about the time they upset my Ohio State Buckeyes back in like 2014 or 13 or something like
Way
that.
back. Yes,
So I'm
I,
always
I
gonna pick
do.
against them.
Yeah, and I think they're a good team. I just like they played cruddy in their conference tournament. They didn't end the season that well, and Nevada is one of the hottest teams in the country, right? So I think I would argue Nevada's probably even better than a 10 seed. They probably should be more like an 8, 9 or something like that, but then you get matched to 1. So whatever. And Long Beach State, kind of a funny story there because I believe the head coach of Long Beach State was fired like 2 weeks ago, right? Because they didn't have that great of a season. I think they came into the tournament as like the 6th seed. Um, and then they went on a crazy run and they won their conference tournament. So they ended up in March Madness bracket here.
Mm-hmm.
So he's fired, but he's coaching in March, which is pretty funny. But I am going to pick Arizona here just because they clearly are a better team.
So like, so
Now,
they fired him, but like they didn't like release him. Like they said, you're gonna be fired at the end of the season, and then they were going into
yeah, yeah.
tournament.
So I think he was fired after the last regular season game. And then all the teams in the conference made the tournament, right?
Right.
And then they just got super hot
But
once
he's
he
like
got
still there.
fired.
Like didn't hire like an interim head coach or anything.
No, he's still there. They said you can finish out the year. Probably not thinking
Wow.
he would have won that many more games.
Right.
But
That's
he went
funny.
on a run and now they're in March.
Yeah.
So cool little story there. I would root for them just to see, something awesome like that happen. But it's hard to really bet those 2v15 games. I know we've seen it like again, like the 1v16. We've seen that happen more recently. We've seen the 2v15 upsets more recently, but betting them, picking them is really, really tough. Especially if you're like trying to play for points. Because if you screw that up and that team goes far, you're like basically out of it from the start. So for
Long
the
Beach
South
State.
region, go ahead.
I said Long Beach State. Roll with them.
There you go. So for the South region, I really like Houston this year. I think they're not going to have a problem with Longwood. Nebraska A&M. My, I'm going to pick Nebraska, but my problem with Nebraska is I know they are not a good road team. I think they only have 3 wins on the road this year, and these are neutral sites, right? So that does scare me. The reason why I don't really care too much about picking these 8v9 matchups is I think the 1 seeds are so good this year that the 1 seeds are a lock for the Sweet 16, right? So essentially, I could pencil in Houston to beat Nebraska, right? So it's really like a matter of like 10 points. It's not that big of a deal. I am going to pick Nebraska there, though. Texas A&M did have a good run in their tournament, though. Wisconsin, James Madison. Now, here's another what I know is going to be a popular upset pick, and I'm riding the wave too. I'm taking James Madison.
Wow.
Wisconsin,
JMU.
JMU, a Wisconsin decent year, not a great year. I think they were profiled like way better than what they ended up being, but they still get a 5 seed. And I guarantee you, when Badger fans saw that they were going to have to play James Madison, I guarantee you their heads soaked because I know James Madison is a good team. James Madison beat Michigan State this year. They have a couple quality wins on the year. I think they, again, lost like only 3 games this year. I don't know if I could pull that up here. Yeah, like they're 31-3 and they play in like the Sun Belt or whatever. So it's not like a great conference by any means. But like still having only 3 losses means something. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
So I'm gonna
31
take
and 3 is
James
31 and
Madison.
3.
Say again.
I said 31 and 3 is 31 and 3.
Exactly. Like again, I know like you're not playing like Purdue, you're not playing like these top heavy teams week in and week out, but to only lose 3 is very impressive. And I think they keep that momentum going. Duke, Vermont, I think this is also going to be a pretty, I'm not going to say popular, but I wouldn't be surprised if you saw a lot of people take Vermont here. But I think you have to roll with the Blue Devils. It's just, again, it's like the 1, 2, and 3 seeds are like next to impossible to really pick as an upset because any of those seeds are the most popular to get to the Final Four. The fours are a little different. Um, but again, I trust like the veteran and the championship culture of Duke to at least get a win in March this year over Vermont. Texas Tech, NC State. NC State has had a little. little bit of a crazy run the past like
Mhm.
2 weeks where they were in the conference tournament. I think they were seeded like 6th or 7th, and then they beat Duke. I think they beat Duke. I know they beat UNC. They had a couple really quality wins in their tournament and ended up winning it. They're led by DJ Burns, who is like 300-pound center. Awesome to watch. And I think I would really love to see NC State do it here, but I trust Texas Tech. They play in a better
Oh,
conference.
I thought you were rolling with the Wolf Pack for a second.
Again, like I want to root. I probably will root for the Wolfpack because I think if NC State goes on a run, it'd be awesome. But Texas Tech as a 6 seed has a couple quality wins. I know. I think in their tournament. Let me see. Let me pull it up real quick. Uh, yeah. So they're in the Big 12. So let me just pull it up real quick. The Big 12. Yeah, they beat teams like BYU. They got blown out by Houston, right? Houston's a 1 seed though, but they beat BYU by 15 points, right? And BYU is over here as where are they? As a 6 seed, right? So they're both 6 seeds. Texas Tech probably is better than them. So I'm going to pick Texas Tech. Kentucky, Oakland. This is easy for me. You're picking Kentucky Wildcats. Florida, Boise State. Now, this is where it's going to get a little crazy here because I saw something on Twitter or
Wait,
X the other
isn't that
day.
a playing game? Isn't it Boise versus like
Yeah,
Colorado or
so
something?
this is Boise State, Colorado, right? So this is a play in, and then you got a play in. Where's the other play ins? There's a play in here. So this is Virginia versus Colorado State. And then you got Howard Wagner here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I saw something on Twitter that since they introduced the play in, right? One play in team has made it to at least the round of 32 in every single year except for one.
Wow.
So I mean, and usually it's a 10 seed because the 10 seeds are like, that's pretty good seeding. Like you're not like
Mm-hmm.
the top half, but you're like high bottom half, right? So I am going to pick Colorado to beat Boise State, and then I'm going to pick Colorado to beat Florida. Colorado's a good team this year. They've been a good team all year. Florida's a good team too. I could see Florida kind of going on a little Cinderella run. The problem with Florida is their center. I forget what his name is. I think I don't want to say he broke his leg, but he had a pretty nasty injury in the tournament, right? And that matters, especially when it comes to March. And Cinderella's happen. I'm gonna pick Colorado here um, to effectively get directly to the round of 32 because historically they say, hey, one team from the play-in gets in, and I think Colorado is the best play-in team, so I'm gonna pick Colorado there. Marquette, Western
Dion's
Kentucky.
Colorado.
Dion's Colorado. There you go. Marquette, Western Kentucky. Again, I think this would be a popular pick. People might want to go Western Kentucky, but let's be real. Marquette, even though I had them going really far in my tournament last year, and I think they lost in like the first or second round, they really bit me last year. I am going to trust them to at least win one game this year. And then just real quick, this is easy. You're going to go Purdue here. Utah State, TCU is a complete coin flip. I'm going to go TCU. Zaga McNeese, I think this is going to be another huge upset pick where people are going to roll with McNeese. McNeese is a good team. They've been decent all year. Again, only 3 losses on the year. But Gonzaga's only got 7 and they played better teams. So I'm not going to pick the upset there. I already picked Grand Canyon there as a 12 seed, and I picked San Diego State as a 5 there. And then here I picked James Madison. So yeah, I'll pick Gonzaga here. So I've got 2 12s winning and 2 5s winning in the first round. I think that's completely fair. Uh Kansas Samford. I know this again, this is gonna be another popular upset pick. The Midwest region is uh kind of a mess because you got a lot of teams who profile well, aren't playing well, and they have a lot of injuries. Kansas Samford, I'm gonna go Kansas, but I think a lot of people are gonna pick Samford here. South Carolina, Oregon. I saw another thing on Twitter, and I'm not trying to be that guy who's like gets all my information from Twitter, right? But I saw something on Oregon that under their current head coach, whenever Oregon has made the tournament, they've gone to at least the Sweet 16. right? Regardless of seeding, right? They could have been the 15 seed. They're always in the Sweet 16, right? So South Carolina, good team. I'm gonna pick another 11 here. I know I picked New Mexico here, and I picked uh BYU and Texas Tech here. So yeah, I think that's fair. You're gonna have two 11 seeds winning. Um, there. Definitely Creighton over Akron. That's pretty easy for me. Here's that other playing game. I think Colorado State probably beats Virginia. Virginia probably shouldn't be in. Colorado State, I think, is definitely better than them. But because I already picked one playing team, I'm going to pick Texas here. And then I'm going to pick Tennessee. As tempting as it is to pick St. Peter's to go on another crazy run, I just don't buy it this year. They weren't the clear cut favorite in their conference tournament. They kind of, I hate to say, lucked it. They played well in their conference tournament, but I think they came in as like a 3 or 2 seed. They definitely weren't the best team. And then they just ended up winning it. So they got in. So yeah, so those are my picks. I think I did everything in the first round. Yeah. So any thoughts or should I just keep rolling here?
I would just keep rolling. I don't know how much time we got left, so just keep
Yeah.
rolling. I
So
think I
that,
I mean I don't want to chip in too much because anything could happen in the first round, especially. So yeah, just got to
yeah.
respect all your picks here because
Yeah. So this is pretty easy for me. Like I said, I'm not picking any one seeds to like not get to at least a Sweet 16 or the Elite Eight
wow,
here. Um, because like again, it could totally happen. It's March, but like, would you feel comfortable betting against UConn, which is the best team in the country, and Houston, which is the second best team in the country, right? Like I can't do it.
I could go against Purdue, but we'll get to that
Yeah,
when we
that's
get
the
there.
one. That's probably the one seed that you can make an argument by. But the one thing I will say to that is people have this bias towards Purdue now, right? Oh, Purdue is choke artist, right? Because they lost as a one seed to FDU, and then they lost the previous year. I forget to who, but they
The
in the
Dodgers
past
of
2 years that
NCAA
they've been.
basketball.
Say again.
I said that they're the Dodgers of NCAA basketball.
There you go. Yeah. But the thing is even though uh that people have this bias towards Purdue, the one other time that a one seed lost, which was Virginia, who lost to UMBC, that was in 2018. In 2019, Virginia won the national championship. So the year after they got bounced as the one seed, the next year they won the national
That's
championship.
that's a good
So
that's a
that's
good
my
stat there.
argument in favor of Purdue.
Right, right. Okay, yeah. Keep rolling. I didn't sorry to interrupt you there.
No, you're good. You're good. So Duke James Madison. Can you bet against the Blue Devils? I can. I'm picking James Madison, a Cinderella
Wow, there it
run.
is. That's what gets the views, Braeden. Those picks right
That's
there.
gonna, yeah, there you go. So I'm gonna pick James Madison, because I really do think they're good. I think that's gonna be a popular pick. I think a lot of people are gonna pick them to beat Wisconsin, and then they're gonna play Duke, and people might be like, it's probably gonna end here, but I'm gonna say F it and get James Madison to the Sweet 16.
Cinderella worm, baby.
And then over here, Um, oh, I have to still do this one. San Diego State, Auburn, easy. Like I said, San
Wow,
Diego State isn't
easy.
what they.
No
Yeah,
hesitation.
yeah.
After
Because
after San Diego State made it to the chip last year.
yeah, but man, what that was kind of fluky. I feel like that was totally
Okay.
fluky. Like last year, the last year's national championship game was a 4v5 seed, which you just don't see, right? San Diego State was a 5 seed last year, and UConn was a 4 seed. UConn's definitely better than what they were last year. San Diego State, I feel like maybe a little too high. Like I think they might be better as like a 6 or a 7 seed. I get why they're there, but I think Auburn's just better, so I'm gonna pick Auburn there. BYU, Illinois, Big Ten champs, Illinois. I could totally see someone taking BYU in my secondary bracket. I'd probably pick BYU there. They're a good team, but I'm gonna pick Illinois here. Drake, Iowa State. I'm gonna pick Iowa State. I'm not a huge Cyclones guy, but like they got a good draw here where they're going to play San Diego State. And if they win, they probably will win. Then they're going to play one of these two teams. I think they beat either one of these two teams. So I'm going to have that. And then Kentucky, Texas Tech. I like Texas Tech, but not as much as I like the Wildcats of the University of Kentucky. So I'm going to take Kentucky there. And Marquette, Colorado. I picked Marquette to go pretty far last year and it bit me. So I'm going to pick Colorado to get to the Sweet 16. I trust them more than I trust Marquette, even though Colorado doesn't really have much experience here. And maybe that's bias in me because I was like, oh, I picked them last year and they screwed me over in my bracket. So I'm picking them against them here, but I do think Colorado can totally beat them. I'm not just picking it because I'm salty about it. So I'm gonna have a 12 seed, a 10 seed, a 12 and a 10 seed, both in the Sweet 16. Let me go down here to the West. This is pretty easy. See, this one's tough. I can really see Michigan State beating them because Michigan State plays so well in March, and I feel like this is a classic matchup.
Yep. Can never count on Michigan State in
You
the
can
in the
never count
tournament.
on Michigan State, regardless of how good of a regular season or tournament they have. I'm going to pick UNC because on paper, analytically, they are the better team, but don't be shocked at all if Michigan State beats them there. Um, Grand Canyon, Alabama. I talked about this earlier. I'm not huge on Alabama. This might be crazy of me, but I am going to pick Grand Canyon here. I think they'll just score. Alabama will score 100. Nah, I shouldn't say 100 points, but Alabama will score a lot of points, but they're going to give up a lot of points. I don't have the exact numbers up here, but they don't have a good defense. They have a good offense. But I trust. Maybe I shouldn't go 2-12 seeds, but I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. Give me,
Just
give
keep
me,
going. You gotta trust your gut. Don't look at
give
the
me
seed. You
Grand
just trust your
Canyon
gut.
there. The way I look at it is I definitely think either James Madison or Grand Canyon will definitely be in the Sweet 16. It might not be both. I have both in my bracket, but I think at least one will definitely be in the Sweet 16. And I like Grand Canyon's path here. New Mexico. Oh wait, no, I'm good here. New Mexico Baylor. Baylor's overrated. Give me New Mexico. They're hot. They won their conference tournament. Um, Maybe that's a little crazy of me picking an upset, but New Mexico's favored over Clemson. I wouldn't be shocked if New Mexico, if they played really well against Clemson, if they're favored against Baylor, or it's like so close. I'm going to pick New Mexico there, and I'm going to pick Arizona to beat Nevada as much as I like Nevada. And then over here, uh, yeah, I mean, like we just talked about Purdue. I'm going to pick them here. I feel like I'd be wrong not to pick them here. Third time's a charm. The past 2 years haven't worked out for them as high seeds. So yeah, I'm gonna pick them over TCU. They're just better. Again, it is March, so anything can happen. But Gonzaga, Kansas, man, this was the one I kept going back and forth on. I really do think Gonzaga can beat them. I know they're not like the juggernaut that they probably were a few years ago, but they're still good. Give me Gonzaga here. So 1v5 in the Sweet 16 there, or Elite Eight, whatever that is.
Sweet 16.
Oregon, Creighton. Again, dude, I could totally see Oregon. Oregon historically like always goes pretty far when they get in. Creighton's better. Creighton's probably like a top 10, if not 10. They're probably like 11, 12 at the worst in the country. Yeah, I'll go Creighton there. I know that might be chalky. It might not be as fun, but I do have a lot of upsets above. So I'll do that. And then I'll take Tennessee here. I could totally see Texas doing it, but I'll pick Tennessee there. Right. All right. So now this is Sweet 16. So now we're gonna go UConn, Auburn. No hesitation here, UConn. As much as I like Auburn, UConn's the best team in the country. This is probably where the upset happens if it happens, in my opinion. Houston, James Madison, Houston, they're just better. It honestly gets easier for me the farther we get in here. Kentucky beats Colorado, they're the better team. Illinois, Iowa State, this coin flip really. Um, I'll pick Illinois because they won the Big Ten. Iowa State just doesn't score a lot of points. They have a tremendous defense, but they might only score like 45 points. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I'll take 1v3, 1v3. So a little chalky, but I do have the two seeds not making it
I
as
do want
far.
to chip in here, Braeden. I remember
Go.
the past couple of years, I'd always roll with the Big Ten teams. Like, yeah, they're in the Big Ten, good basketball conference, solid programs in the Big Ten, tough
Yeah.
conference. And I think like last year and the year before, the Big Ten teams were just awful. Like, you had
Yeah.
the Purdue loss last year, and then, I think I know Wisconsin hasn't made it very far. I know Michigan State gets upset a lot. I mean, they're a good program. So So I just want to give my 2 cents about that.
No,
So
I
I
think
this year I am going to be wary of picking the Big Ten teams. Even though like it's a great conference, but for some reason when it comes to March, do you have like a team like Michigan State or like Michigan where they just make a crazy run to like the Final Four, or they get upset in the first round? I feel like there's like no in between there.
yeah, no,
So that's
and
just
that's a
my two
totally
cents.
fair point. That's a totally fair point to the viewers. The champ is probably not coming out of the Big Ten, right? So if you're picking
Right.
Illinois, I might avoid that. That gives away what I'm going to pick there, right? But Illinois' path, they were the 2 seed. Purdue is the 1 seed, obviously. Illinois beat Ohio State. Then they beat Nebraska, who I do have winning a game in this tournament. And then they beat Wisconsin because Purdue lost to Wisconsin. So that's another note on Purdue is they did lose to a Wisconsin team that I do have out in the first round. So I mean, again, it's March. It's going to be crazy regardless. But this is just what I have. So I have UConn, Illinois, Houston, Kentucky. Yeah, that's fair. And then we'll go down here real quick. Grand Canyon, as much as I want to pick them, UNC's the better team. How can I pick against them? I wouldn't be shocked at all if you saw a 12 seed. Like last year was Florida Atlantic went pretty far. I think they went to the Final Four. Um, Good team, Grand Canyon, but I think their Cinderella story is just going to run out. And then New Mexico, as much as I want to pick New Mexico, I'm going to pick Arizona here. Definitely chalky there. Went 1-2. Creighton, Tennessee. Again, this is a tough one. Really a coin flip. I think Creighton's better. Tennessee did not perform well in their tournament either. So I'll pick Creighton there. And then give me Gonzaga. This is where Purdue's run ends because I think they're the worst of the 4 1 seeds. And I'm not going to have all like 1 seeds making the Final Four because that's just completely unrealistic. And then real quick, since I'm down here, give me Arizona over UNC.
Okay. So this is for the Final Four, right? Yeah.
Yeah, this is the Final Four. So Arizona's my Final Four team as a 2 seed. I'm gonna go Creighton.
Wow, rolling with the Bluebirds, Blue Jays.
Yeah, I mean, if this gets, I'm not getting any data. Yeah, I mean, like again, it could go either way. This is like where it gets really like
Yeah.
it's a mess. Like it
That
makes the
Creighton
picks
Gonzaga,
easier.
yeah.
Yeah, but it's like literally a coin flip. These ones you can kind of predict a little bit better, even though like you really can't. Once it gets here, it's just like nonsense. Like they're both juggernauts. They're both really good teams. So I'll pick Creighton there. And then here, no hesitation, UConn gets to the Final Four again. And give me Houston here. I'd love to pick Kentucky there. I think it'd be really fun to get Kentucky to the Final Four, but Houston is the better team. But again, these can go any way. So Final Four, Glendale, Arizona. I got UConn and Arizona and Houston and Creighton. Uh, Dude, they're the best team in the country. UConn's the best team in the country. I think anything less than a Final Four run is a huge letdown for them. So I'm going to have them in the national championship taking on Houston. I picked Houston to win it all last year. They got up, I think they lost in like either the Sweet 16 or the Elite Eight, somewhere around there. I'm leaning towards Sweet 16 there. Um, I'm gonna pick Houston, man, because
Wow.
everybody's picking UConn, and it is
Wow.
so tough to go back to back. The last team to go back to back was the Florida Gators, and I think 06, 07. So it doesn't happen often, regardless of how good these teams are, right?
Right. I saw a
UConn could very
stat.
well win the national championship, but I'm not gonna pick what everybody picks.
I saw a stat today, Braden, that the team that's won the national championship the previous year has like never made it past. I want to say either the round of 32 or the Sweet 16. Like they've never definitely have not made it to the Elite Eight after winning the championship the previous year. So just
Yeah,
another fun stat for everyone there.
yeah, and I think the thing is like the Big East is interesting because there's a lot of good teams in the Big East. You got St. John's, I mean, good teams, right, for the conference. Seton Hall's a good team. St. John's is a good team. Marquette's a good team. Creighton's a good team. How cool would it be to see like UConn and Creighton in the national championship, a Big East showdown? The last time those two teams played, Creighton blew them out. You know what I mean? So that would
Right.
be really interesting. I think if I had to pick here, I'd love to see UConn Creighton face each other. But I think realistically, you're going to see 2 1 seeds. I think UConn's the better team, but I think it's so tough to go back to back. And that stat you just said there even reinforces my point more that you don't really see the team that wins the national championship the previous year have a ton of success in March. I'm going to have UConn have a lot of success in
Yeah.
March, but just fall
Also,
short.
I think my stat was since 2016 or something like that. Like
Since,
obviously,
yeah,
like something like that. So,
yeah.
but yeah,
And probably defensive battle. Maybe 119 is too low. No, because that would be like 60 points per team. Maybe I'll go like 135. Give me 135, something like that.
135,
Something like
70.
70.
Damn,
What? Maybe
that's a
that's too
lot.
high. I don't know. I think 120 is too low.
I would do like
130.
128 ish. I don't know. That's
I'll,
your
I'll go.
bracket.
I'll go one. I'll go 130. I'll
Yeah,
go
130 is
130.
fair.
120 seems too
65.
low. 135 seems too high. But yeah, that's my bracket. I'm gonna. Last year I had Houston winning it. They didn't win it. I had UConn going pretty far, but not winning it as well. Um, I don't know, man. Like I could totally see Houston like losing in like the Elite Eight or the Final Four, but I think they have a good path, and I think UConn's got a really good path. So I think it sets up well for both those teams. But again, it's March, so anything can happen. We could see a Grand Canyon State get to the Final Four, like we saw Florida Atlantic last year. Um, but in my primary bracket for in the yard, I'm gonna have Houston beating UConn.
Wow. Congratulations there, Braden. So yeah, if you want to
Yeah,
win
so
some
that's
free money,
63 for 63. That's
follow
perfect.
Braden's bracket. Yeah, I mean, I'll just say it here, Braden. I was gonna roll with the Huskies, but you make some good points. It is tough to go back to back. But the thing is for me, Braden, was last year UConn was not a fluke. I think like their average point differential per game was like 20 points. Like that's just pure dominance.
Yeah,
Um, and I just think they're going to be dominant again unless they really get upset in like the first or second round. I don't think anything's going to really stop them again. So I think I haven't filled out my bracket yet, but I think I would roll with the Huskies. I know a lot of other people are too, but I like your Houston pick. It's a good point. It's tough to go back to back. I just hope
and
I hope
yeah,
Houston doesn't ruin it for you again. Back to back
yeah.
years.
I feel like it's a good pick here. I think UConn's a better pick, right? Because I think like 25% of brackets pick UConn for good reason. They're the best team in the country. The one thing I will say about UConn that really favors them because of the 1 seed, they're in the East region, right? So their first 2 games would be in Brooklyn, which is very close to where they play.
Mm,
And then their Sweet 16 and Elite Eight games would be played in Boston, which is again very close. They would not
right.
have to travel far. Those could
Right.
end up being home games for UConn,
That's a good point. That's a good point.
right?
They got the luck of
The
the draw
one thing
there.
I will say though is when you get to the national championship, it's in Glendale, Arizona. It's the opposite side of the country. Houston's right there. You know what I
So is
mean?
Arizona,
So is
obviously.
Arizona. That's a home game for Arizona if they get to the national championship. And I think that
Right.
can happen too. I think this is a total possible upset. Creighton might be a little bit more of a sleeper to get there. I could totally see Creighton losing early. But I think the Big East was really strong this year, and I think that matters.
Right. It's a good point. I think we're about wrapped up on time here, Braden.
Yeah.
Um,
So Houston,
so
I'm
yeah,
rolling
there
with
it is.
Houston
Braden's
again.
perfect bracket. Thank you everyone for listening. Join our bracket in the Art Pot 24 24, and we'll see you next time.
Yep. See ya.